Veteran actress Shalene Surtie-Richards graced our television screens for many decades as she dedicated her life to telling stories and touching lives. The actress, who passed away on Monday at the age of 66, her character on Generations, Aunty Maggie, epitomized the mother's love and care. That's exactly how many of her former colleagues and family described her, a beacon of love, grace and care. To pay tribute to this beautiful soul, we speak to actors Clint, Brink and Sello Ka-Ncube, who have both worked with her. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for being with us on your weekend report. Sello Ka-Ncube, I'd like to first speak to you about perhaps, what you felt moments as you heard of her passing.
Thank you, Mpo, for the opportunity to honor this legend, and thank you to the viewers out there. I personally never worked with her, but I have seen her like in my earlier developing days at the market, and I've seen her in a couple of productions, and what a woman with fire. When Shalene was on stage, you are always so attracted to her. She draws you, her truth and her presence on stage. And she was not very large in stature, but her presence on stage just used to be overwhelming. And yeah, it is a great loss, and, in fact, who was that? Ahman, the comedian, gave a very, befitting tribute to who Shalene was, her journey, and he actually knew Shalene from the days when he was still an usher at the Baxter Theatre, and grew to actually work with her, and the grace that Shalene had. And even at times when I'd seen her in plays at the market, her humility as a person was just outstanding. And I think for me, it is such a great loss that the younger generations are going to be missing out on a DNA of knowing how to be a custodian of our living culture, and that DNA is no longer going to be passed now. And I just say, may her soul rest in peace.
Clint, to you now, just looking at some of the visuals that we can see on screen, immediately invokes a lot of emotion. And Shalene, for the viewers, had that ability to really get you to be with her and feel what she's going through. For you personally, you'd have acted with her as a young actor as well, and she seems like someone who's very much a mother figure. Can you just talk to me about the kind of relationship you had with her and the kind of relationship she had with a lot of people on set?
So, I think every performer who's had the opportunity to either see her work or be exposed to her work or be in her presence, whether it's close or whether it's distant, I think everyone will feel the weight and the void that she left with her passing. For me personally, growing up and seeing Shalene on TV, immediately it's a face and a personality and a culture that I can relate to, that came from my circumstances, that came from my background, that somehow is on screen and doing all of the things that we were told not to dream about. She conquered all of that for us and paved the way. So when I had an opportunity to work on Generations, and I had the brief opportunity of working with Shalene, it's surreal. It's surreal when you've grown up hearing everyone tell you everything that you will not be able to achieve and why you should not be able to achieve it or get there, or dreams don't materialize, and now you're working and sharing a space just in a professional capacity, sharing a space with a legend. And then by the time I got to Generations, myself personally, I went through a lot of personal trials, and it was a really difficult time in my life. And she just took me under her wing like she does with everyone. You know, we had dinners together, just spent time looking after my mindset and giving me good advice, and telling me how, you know, the work is always important, even though, you know, heartache might have befallen you, and it's the narrative of your personal life, you know. The thing that can cause, or the thing that can bring forth success and instill hope in the people around you is just to connect with the work and really be honest and present in it. So she was a wealth of information, a wealth of experience, you know. Yeah, she's definitely a figure that we will. It's a great loss for all of us, if I can put it like that.
Sello, if I come to you, we also know that towards some of the last interviews recorded with Shalene, she was a woman who was very candid about her financial struggles as an artist, saying that there are times when production work isn't available and there's no money coming in. And we saw the impact of something like this when scores of actors and artists went to the National Arts Council, you know, protesting, saying that they want funds to be released because they simply don't have the means to survive. How does this now bode for the future of the industry and the challenges that are within the industry?
Thank you, Mpo. You know, this is a great question. You know, I mean, the struggles for artists, I think, is a very, a long and protracted one. And it goes as far back as even during the apartheid years. You know, and during the apartheid years, the artists were not even recognized by the government. I mean, plays like Woza Albert were just basically like in the beginning of the play. It exhibits that an artist was, or working as an artist was something that the government did not recognize. You know, and I think even though we were working under those conditions, but we kept the art alive, and those who were our predecessors themselves kept, you know, the space around alive. You know, I remember in 1987, and I just started working at the Maake Theatre, and I was sitting with a colleague, and I said to him, you know, I asked him how many white actors, you know, or for instance, and our contemporaries of John Kani, that did he know? And he would mention, and he went and completed 2 hands. And I said, well, now tell me of black contemporary actors of that John Kani. And he couldn't finish a hand. And I think it just goes how the apartheid devastated us, you know, and almost was breaking down a lineage of some sort. And then we come into the new dispensation. And now the new dispensation doesn't actually help to carry the heritage of people like Mosaics Mukai, Gibson Kente, you know, and making sure that the generation that the present generation is actually handed on a baton that they should carry on. And I think, you know, and it has been clear, I mean, the artists that went and sat at the NAC are basically just highlighting the struggles that artists have. And I think, and I just hope that the minister is listening and also will make sure that, you know, we get to a point where we now begin to draft a new strategy that would help to make the arts, the artist space come alive. One thing that is so important, and I think sometimes even our government doesn't realize, is that we are the people who puts a mirror for society to reflect on itself. I think even the president himself, I mean, wrote a very lyrical tribute to Shalene. You know, but lyrical tribute to Shalene has got to be seen happening in how the government supports and sets a conducive environment so that artists can function and so that we as a nation can grow with pride.
Clint, just to bring it back to Shalene as a person, I think the comedian that Sello Maake was talking about is Mark Lottering, who wrote that tribute. And, you know, his opening words is, you know, she essentially says she had a sense of humor second to none. And as somebody that knew her personally, as somebody that got to spend some time with her, in remembering her, do you have any memories that you might be willing to share with us to let us into whether it's something that really warmed your heart or just a really comical moment that just showed you that she's forever young as she looked on air?
Well, there are so many moments that you can actually pick from. It's like you just mentioned now, she did have an incredible sense of humor. But the thing that I can say, my personal experience, I mean, I just suffered a great loss in my life as well, and I was in a car accident, and for years after, I had to go to court to obviously go through the court case and through the legal proceedings of that car accident. And I mean, I was a 21-year-old young man, new in the industry. I just came to Joburg. I had no friends and no family and no one here, and it was a really tough time for me adjusting and just finding myself. And I remember walking onto the Generation set and starting to work there and seeing Shalene. And I mean, obviously she got wind of the story, and what was incredible is that she just had this natural ability to make you forget about all of the things that haunt you, because she understood pain, she understood loss, she understood suffering, she understood hardship, and she understood how to not let any of those things be the predominant narrative in your life, you know. And then she would naturally and in a very humorous way just impart all of that love, care, and mothering nurture into your life without you even knowing it, you know. And I remember in the beginning when I used to call her auntie, she's like, as I know, and you know, it was such a shock to my system because your parents raise you to always, you know, people older than you always auntie, or uncle or mister or sir or what, you know. And here is this living legend saying that I need to meet her eye to eye and speak to her on that level, and that can completely change you. And that just shows you the importance of having role models of that stature and being exposed to people who can change and expand your mindset. You know, things that you thought were completely you won't be able to achieve it now becomes a tangible reality to you. So Shalene is definitely pivotal in my career as someone that has shaped my mindset and took care of me when I really couldn't take care of myself. And with my family being in Cape Town and me being in Johannesburg, she was definitely a mother figure and someone that I can without a doubt say cared about my well-being, not just on a professional level, but on a personal front as well.
Very lastly, Sello, before we say goodbye, we heard Clint speaking about role models of that stature, and we know we're speaking about a woman who had a professional career spanning over 3 decades. You also mentioned that it will be unfortunate for a younger generation not to have learned from her or not to continue seeing her on the screens. What do you think are some of the really important messages that young aspirant actors can learn from a giant such as Shalene?
I think, you know, it is basically telling the truth. That when one gets to play a role, they don't think about themselves, but realize that they are just part of the family. you know, a channel of the story that the character that they are playing has got to tell to the world. And people like Shalene, you know, I mean, you know, like now as we speak, and I'm like imagining, because Shalene and Mom Lillian Dube, they're like versions of, you know, the black side and the colored side, you know, because their sense of humor just, you know, cuts through everything, and their motherliness as well is something that they're just, you know, just overwhelms you, and they just embrace you with it. If there's anything that we can learn from them, if you had seen them, and even Mom Lillian, I think Mom Lillian just maybe probably did one production at the market called Kell Up and Die. And if you saw Mom Lillian in that role, how she represented a maid, you know, she gave some amazing human dignity to the role. And Shalene, in Feel a Second, you look at her, the suffering that she was showing I mean, it is just people who know that when they play a role, all they've got to do is reveal the truth of the human condition and make the people to appreciate who we are as a human being and where we're coming from and where we can go to.
Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. An absolute pleasure and an honor speaking to you as we honor a great legend as well.